Hi everyone, welcome to our November workshop with Verde. This month we will be talking about our winter harvest. And so we just wanted to start off by checking in with you on how your seedlings are doing. We planted in October, and we just wanted to make sure that everything's beginning to grow. It's possible you've already started to experience some pests and problems, so hopefully you were able to use the methods that we taught last month, such as the neem oil and just the cinnamon mixture spray that you can use to deter some of those pests. And of course, you can always contact your coordinator or email us at info@valiverde.com and, valiverde.org, info@valiverde.org, and then we can answer your questions. So let's go ahead and we will move to the next slide here. So our overview for today, we'll be reviewing our October content. We'll be talking about healthy cooking. Our garden topic is cool weather harvest. Our climate change topic is chemical disposal. Our climate change action steps, we'll be making a plan for chemical disposal, and then we'll end with some announcements. Right, so in October, our nutrition topic that we learned about was sugar and diabetes. So last month we learned about added sugars and how we need to limit our intake of them. Added sugars are found in many foods, which we may not expect them to be in, like bread, condiments, and many processed foods. Natural sugars like those found in fruits and vegetables are part of a healthy diet and provide quick bursts of energy for our bodies. However, added sugars usually accumulate as excess body fat and can cause damage to our organs and body systems. Sugar and belly fat are connected with diseases like diabetes, nerve damage, heart disease, especially if high blood sugar levels are left unregulated for long periods of time. Our garden topic for October was cool weather plants and care. So in October, we planted our fall gardens and learned which plants do best in cool weather. We learned brassicas like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts are cool weather crops, as well as legumes like snap peas and leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and mustard. We also learned that we need to carefully adjust our watering schedule based on the rainfall that comes with the winter months, as well as changes in temperature. Each season can vary in weather patterns, so it's important to pay attention to the forecast and plan your watering schedule accordingly. For example, the last week or so, we've received some rain, so you shouldn't have needed to water as often as prior when it was hot, and we were experiencing no rain. So obviously that is going to impact how you care for your garden. Finally, we discussed common winter pests and diseases, including aphids, which are drawn to your brassica plants. Hence, the nasturtium flowers included this season, which will help draw aphids away from your vegetables, acting as a sacrificial plant. And we also learned those natural remedies, because we do not want to put any chemicals into the ground, into our food, because the food will absorb the chemicals when you use pesticides and herbicides. Those are going to get into the food that you eat, and then that is going to get into your body, which then causes things like cancer. So we really want to avoid chemical interventions in our gardens. All right, so moving on to our nutrition and health topic. This month we're talking about cooking for health. So consuming vegetables is part of a healthy diet. However, the way we prepare them can alter how many of the nutrients are accessible to our bodies. For example, freshly picked and prepared vegetables will always have the highest levels of vitamins and minerals for our bodies. In contrast, vegetables with water-soluble vitamin C and the Bs, for example, will lose nutrients when boiled. So unless you also drink the water you boiled them in, some of the vitamins and minerals will be lost. If you do boil vegetables, after the water is cooled, you can feed the nutrient-rich water to your plants. This said, when cooked and allowed to soften, the nutrients in some hard vegetables like potatoes and carrots will actually be more accessible to our bodies because they're easier to break down. Other cooking methods like battering with a bread mixture and deep frying will cause vegetables to lose nutrients and increase the levels of saturated fats in our bodies. Keep deep frying to rare and special occasions, not daily. A better alternative is to lightly spray cooking oil, like a plant-based oil like olive oil or avocado oil, on a pan and saute vegetables until tender, but not so long that they lose color. You can also add them to soups and sauces since the nutrients dissolved in the liquids will be consumed anyway. Finally, when preparing sauces, be sure to note the amount of added sodium. So sodium is essentially salt that you add to your food. Some sauces, like soy sauce, are very high in sodium, which is not good for those with high blood pressure. For the best nutritional benefits, stick to raw, lightly sauteed, baked, roasted, or grilled veggies. Just be sure not to overcook them. Okay, so moving on to our garden topic, fall-winter garden harvest. So now that you know which plants are suited for cooler weather and more rain and which pests and diseases they're prone to attract, let's discuss how to care for and harvest your produce. So starting with our root vegetables, such as carrots, radishes, onions, and the like that grow in the ground, sprinkle the seeds in a thin line. Then you're going to thin them out every 2 to 3 inches for carrots and radishes, and every 1 inch for green onions. You don't want to pull the leaves, and you only want to thin if you're going to use them for soups and salads. To harvest, look for the shoulders of the vegetables pushing up out of the soil. So as you can see in the photo, the carrots are pushing up out of the soil. That's going to be a good indicator to let them know that they are ready to be harvested. And same with onions, with beets, with radishes. So the shoulders, which is basically, the top part of the root vegetable, it's going to push up out of the soil, meaning it's ready. So sometimes you need to loosen the soil around the vegetable if it has become a little compact. And you can just use a little spade, shovel, just to gently loosen the soil. We really want to disturb the soil as little as possible because, as we've learned in the past, the soil has a structure that really supports the microorganisms and the whole life of the soil. And so we want to disturb that as little as possible. So be sure once you harvest to cut the greens off before storage. If you don't cut them off, it's going to cause the root part to wilt and become limp because all the energy is going to go towards keeping the leaves alive. You can definitely eat the leaves of most root vegetables or add them to soups and salads. However, just be sure to cut them off when you're storing them because, like I said, they'll cause the carrot or the root part to get wilty and squishy. So store in the refrigerator in the vegetable drawer, separate from fruits because fruits release a chemical causing other produce to go bad faster. If they're wilty, if you harvest and maybe you didn't cut the green tops off in time, you can always submerge the carrots or other root vegetables in cold water for a few hours, and that's going to kind of rehydrate them and allow them to kind of crisp back up. So also in the root vegetable family is our garlic, primarily hardneck, I believe is what we distributed to most of our participants this year. If you're curious to know the difference between hard and soft neck, go ahead and just type that into Google and you'll receive, plenty of information and explanation on hard versus soft neck. We also sent home a care infographic or info sheet when we distributed the seedling kits this year, so you can always also reference that. So hopefully when you planted the garlic, you did it about 3 inches deep and about 6 to 8 inches apart in approximately 4 garlic heads per square foot. Excuse me, garlic cloves that will turn into garlic heads. Make sure the pointy end is facing upward and the flat root end is facing down in the dirt. Cover with soil and add mulch or straw on top. Garlic needs a cold spell during the winter to develop properly. So without that, you're just gonna cause it to grow the greens, the green shoot that comes out the top, but it's not gonna produce multiple cloves. So it really does need that cold spell, the frost, in order to develop into a full garlic head. So that's why it takes several months, and we plant it before the first cold spell in early fall, and then it will continue growing through the winter and be ready to harvest hopefully around May or so. You will know when the garlic is ready when the leaves begin to dry up. So stop watering a couple weeks before you want to harvest to help the garlic dry out. For our brassicas, which is a family of vegetables that includes cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. So for the standard varieties, allow the head, which is the center ball of your cabbage or broccoli, to grow to the size of your hand or approximately 6 to 8 inches wide. You're going to want to harvest before the plant flowers. Cut at the main stem and then leave a few outer leaves to keep it fresh on the head. So you're going to include a few of the outer leaves when you cut it. Broccoli is going to produce 2 to 3 side shoots, which will produce smaller heads. So leave the plant after harvesting the main center because you'll get a little bit more harvest that way. Brussels sprouts are ready when the heads are 1 to 2 inches in diameter across. So you're going to cut the main stem at the base of the plant. You can leave the roots in the soil to decompose because that will add some nutrients to your soil. The leaves are edible and can be sauteed or used in soups. Otherwise, if you don't want to eat them, you can put them in your compost and they'll add nutrients to the soil once that's processed. So gently press on each mini head and they'll just pop off. You can also use a small knife to remove them from the main stalk. And then we also have bok choy, which is in the cabbage family. And bok choy can be harvested as either just a one-time cut the whole thing, or if you leave maybe 1 to 2 inches of the base of the plant and you cut above that, it will actually regrow and come again as one of our cut and come again plants, similar to how we harvest lettuce. So that's a cool thing about bok choy. So you can have multiple harvests. And the second one might not be quite as big, but it will still produce more food for you. So go ahead and leave 1 to 2 inches of your bok choy when you're cutting at the base. Right, so moving on. So our winter harvest continued. So the category of legumes is going to be all your peas and beans. This year we planted snap peas and our fava beans. Right now my fava beans are probably 1.5 to 2 feet tall, but they haven't started to flower yet. So they're not ready to be turned over and put back into the soil. The fava beans are, or actually all legumes are really great for returning nitrogen into the soil because they consume less nitrogen than they produce. And so that extra goes back into the soil when you leave the plant in there and kind of turn it over. So for our snap peas, harvest when the pods are 3 to 5 inches long and the peas are nice and plump. If you happen to get a snow pea variety, because we did have some of these donated from Stanford Earth Farm. So some of the varieties might have been different. So if you happen to have the snow peas, you can harvest when they're, again, about 3 to 4 inches long, but they're not going to get fat and round like the snap peas will. So the snow peas, which are more flat, are good for sauteing and stir fries, and the snap peas can be stir fried as well, or just eaten fresh. Personally, I don't prefer to eat snow peas fresh, but it's up to you. They're fine. They're just a little less sweet, and so I prefer to use them in a stir fry. Okay, also for our fava beans, so there is actually a 3-minute video explaining how to use fava beans as a cover crop on our YouTube channel. So if you missed that, go ahead and after you finish watching this month's lesson, check out our fava bean video, just a real short snippet, and you can learn more about why we're planting fava beans. Maybe it's something you've never done before, but it's actually a good way to take care of your soil. And so go ahead and watch that 3-minute video. I'll probably be posting another one with an update, because I did the first video when I planted the fava beans, and now that they've grown 1.5 feet or so tall, you know, I can provide you an update, and probably when they flower, I'll show you how to cut them down and turn them over into the soil. So look for that second video coming up. All right, so just as a quick explanation, fava beans can actually grow 3 to 6 feet tall, depending on the variety. To use as a green manure, we will cut back the plants when the blossoms begin to open. You're going to turn the plants under the soil a few inches deep and cover with hay or mulch. And fava beans are great for gardens because they put back more nitrogen in the soil than they use from it, as I mentioned earlier. So your spring plants are going to really benefit from the added nitrogen in the soil. So now this year for our flower, we provided nasturtium. And flowers are important for your garden because they draw in beneficial pollinators and insects. Some flowers also act as deterrents for pests such as marigolds, or act as a sacrificial plant to attract pests away from your vegetables. Nasturtium will attract aphids away from your brassicas. Many flowers like nasturtium and calendula are also edible. You can eat both blossoms and leaves of the nasturtium plant. Edible flowers can be used in salads, as garnishes, or in herbal teas. So this is an awesome plant that I recommend to have in every garden. And the leaves are really delicious. They're a little bit nutty, a little bit of a spicy flavor like a mustard green, and they're delicious either in salads, or I like to put them on my sandwiches just for a little flavor and kick, but they can be used in a variety of ways, and they're also beautiful. Okay, so for our leafy greens, this would be the category of spinach, lettuce, kale, chard. So these are called cut and come again. So you're going to want to leave 1 inch of the plant at the base, and it will regrow for another harvest. You can also do this with store-bought produce when placed in water. So you can see that picture on the left. That's a store-bought head of lettuce, and if you leave that, I would say more like 2 inches on that, and you set it in a cup of water so that the base is sitting in water, not the whole thing, but it's going to actually regrow leaves from the middle. And so that's a cool thing about how to get more for your money when you're purchasing from the grocery store. For our garden, you can either pinch leaves off, starting with the biggest on the outside of the plant, as you see in the middle picture, or you can just cut the whole thing in one large harvest if you are looking to create like a bigger salad and not just, you know, a few leaves for a sandwich or that type of thing. Like I said, leaving a couple 1 to 2 inches at the base is going to allow it to regrow, and you'll get multiple harvests that way. Green onions can also be cut and regrow and just harvest as needed for garnishes and different recipes for your green onions. Yep, this will apply to most of our leafy greens. And next year we're hoping to add a new one, which is called tatsoi, and that's a Japanese green. That also could be a cut and come again, or just pinching off the outer leaves, as you see in that middle photo. Okay, so moving on to our climate change topic, did you know that things like batteries, LED light bulbs, old prescription drugs, household cleaners, used car oil, and other chemicals cannot be thrown away in the garbage or flushed down the toilet? That is because when toxic chemicals are thrown into landfills or flushed down the toilet, they absorb into the soil and or groundwater. This creates polluted water, which impacts our ecosystems and reduces the safety of our drinking water. There are a variety of places that you can safely dispose of these chemicals so that they do not end up polluting the water. Santa Clara County offers free disposal of household chemicals by appointment. Simply go to their website, which is sccgov.org, and you're going to look for the chemical disposal on their website. And I'm going to go ahead and play a quick video from their website on chemical disposal. So let's go ahead and watch that. Oops.
Many of the products we use every day are treated as hazardous waste when we no longer need or have use for them. Common products include aerosol cans, batteries, fluorescent lights, paint, household cleaners, fertilizers, and automotive fluids. It is unsafe to dispose of hazardous waste in your trash or recycle bins. Improper disposal increases harmful contaminants in local landfills, pollutes the bay, and increases risk to public health and safety. The County of Santa Clara Household Hazardous Waste Program can help with the proper disposal and recycling of your household hazardous waste. There are drop-off services for your old or unwanted household hazardous waste. Go to hhw.org for more information. Remember to properly dispose of your household hazardous waste. A message brought to you by the Santa Clara County Recycling and Waste Reduction Commission. Funded by Cal Recycle.
All right, so once again, for our action step, we want to make a plan for chemical disposal. So things that you need to think of would be, what items do I need to dispose of? Do I have cans of paint that are old and no longer good sitting around my garage? Do I have oil from my car that was used from changing the oil yourself? Or just a variety of cleaning products that maybe are too old, or old chemicals that you have, even prescription drugs. So then you're going to want to ask, where can I safely store them until I'm ready to make the appointment for disposing of them? You could keep them in a box in the garage, out of reach of children. You want to keep them out of the house, as many chemicals have fumes, and you want them to be in a well-ventilated area away from excess heat. Because we really want to protect both our animals, our breathing air, and just our families. Young children obviously are not going to know that they're dangerous and may accidentally get into them. So we want to avoid that and keep our families protected. So who do you contact? The Santa Clara County Household Hazardous Waste Program, and their phone number is 408-299-7300. And when you call that number, you can schedule an appointment to dispose of your chemicals. And then also you can see on here, there's the Bay Area Recycling Hotline. And so that's another way to recycle or reuse for disposal of different things. So I really encourage you to not just throw it in your garbage, which will end up in our landfill, which will end up polluting our water and our farms where we grow our food. It gets into the soil, and so we want to really just dispose of things properly so that it's not impacting our health or the health of future generations, our children and grandchildren. So be sure to check out where you need to go in your community. Okay, finally, for our announcements, as always, please report to your coordinator that you've watched the video. This is your monthly attendance. So please send a copy also of your favorite recipe to your coordinator. We would love to know what recipes you used to grow the plants from, or excuse me, to eat the harvest from your gardens this year. And so for each group, if you happen to have a favorite dish or favorite way of preparing something that you grew in your garden, if you could share that with your coordinator, that would be awesome. And then we can create a little community resource that we can share with one another. We can send out all the recipes, compile them and send them out so that people have some more options of how to prepare the food that they're growing. Finally, please fill out the post-evaluation form. This is vital information for us to continue our program and to receive funding. We want to know if this program was actually helpful for you, if it improved your health and your family's health, if you found that you were eating more vegetables because of your garden. All of that information really helps us to show the impact that our programs have, and we really need that information. So if you could take a few minutes and fill out the post-evaluation form, your coordinator will have emailed that to you, so check your email, and that way we can really show our funders that their investment is being put to good use. Finally, I wanted to encourage you, if you would like to become a garden mentor for next year. Garden mentors are people who have completed the full year of the Valley Verde Home Garden Program. So if you've done that and you want to help maybe 2 to 3 families per month by checking in on their gardens next year, by offering them advice from the things that you learned as you grew your garden, we will actually be providing a monthly stipend this year. As kind of a thank you and just incentive, I know our time is valuable and it's hard to take time out of your day, so we wanted to offer a little compensation through a monthly stipend for our mentors. So if you're interested in that, please also contact your coordinator or email us at info@valleyverde.org, and we will be sure to put you on the list for potential mentors for next year. We only have a few spots available, so if you're interested, please let us know as soon as possible. And we just hope that you have a happy holidays coming up, and thank you so much for your participation in our program. We want to create, a self-sufficient and food just community, and so we believe that by gardening and putting the power of your food in your own hands, in your own yards, that we will reduce food insecurity in our community and really empower our communities to grow their own food. So thank you for listening, and we will have one more brief video for December next month, and then you will be a graduate of Valley Verde. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.